Before we jump into the episode today, I want to share something with you from my heart. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really can't tell you how much your support means to me. We've been doing the podcast now for almost 4 years. I can't even believe it. And I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you that listens, shares an episode with your friends, sends me a DM or a text message letting me know how an episode resonated with you or any aha moments. Seriously, I couldn't be more grateful to be able to create this podcast. It has been such a blessing in my life, and I love hearing the ways it's been able to provide value in yours as well. One thing you might not know is how much work it takes to be consistent with a podcast. In fact, did you know that the majority of podcasts don't make it past episode number 10? And we are well beyond that. And it's just a lot thinking of the episodes, recording them, editing them, managing the guests, making sure that everything runs smoothly and gets uploaded consistently and regularly. And so that's why I have created an amazing opportunity for you to support the podcast monetarily. And in exchange for that, you will get exclusive premium subscriber content. So for as little as $3 a month, you can become a premium subscriber of the podcast. And every month I will upload new voice-guided workouts and breathwork meditation audio for you. So that way you can work out with me, coaching you in your ears. You can also take a moment to reduce your stress and relax and come down and ground down with one of my breathwork audios. So if that is on your heart to support the podcast for as little as $3 a month to become a premium podcast subscriber, I can't tell you how much that means to me and the growth of this podcast. I appreciate you. If you're interested, click the link in the description, become a premium podcast subscriber, new content every month, and while supplies last, I'll send you an exclusive podcast coffee mug so you can have your self-love and sweat coffee every morning. I appreciate you. Now let's get into the show. Welcome to Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast, the place where you'll get inspired to live your life unapologetically, embrace your perfect imperfections, break down barriers, and do what sets your soul on fire. I'm your host, Lunden Souza. Hey friend, it's me, Lunden Souza, online lifestyle transformation coach. I help people all over the world just like you who know they are meant for more, get their mind right and their body tight, and go from crazy busy to crazy happy. And hey, if it's our first time meeting, welcome. So happy to have you. And if you've been with us for a while, it's so great that you're here too. I'm really excited to share this episode of the Self-Love and Sweat podcast with you. Hey, I want to tell you quickly about 2 ways that you can get connected beyond the podcast to uplevel your health, your life, your fitness, reach your goals, but also support the podcast as well. So the first option is our Self-Love and Sweat monthly members only meetup. We meet up on the last Saturday of the month on Zoom for 90 minutes to cover some important topics, to answer your questions, and then to also do a workout together. It's a great way to have that support, have that accountability, get supercharged, and get reminded that there are other people all over the world on this journey of self-love and sweat, and you don't have to do it alone. You can join your first month for only $1 using code SELFLOVE1 at checkout, and then it's $27 a month after that. So you go to lifelikeLondon.com/monthly, use the code SELFLOVE1 at checkout to try us out, test it out for only $1 for your first month, and then you can be on board to listen to the podcast, join up on the meetups, and just really feel like you're connected and thriving on this journey to reach your goals. The second option is our Strong at Home for Women 8-week dumbbell-only workout plan. We have women all over the world getting stronger from the inside out right at home, right? So we're ready to take action to get stronger despite the circumstances of the world. And we know that we're not about to do that alone. So embark on this 8-week journey with us. You can go to lifelikeLondon.com/strong at home. You can pick up your 8-week plan. And the exciting thing is that every 8 weeks, we open it up, myself and my co-coach, for VIP all access coaching with us. So not only do you get the plan, but you get Zoom fireside chats with us. You get an exclusive way to chat with us anytime so you can ask your questions, share your progress. And we're always continuing to stay connected and motivate and inspire each other on our journey to get stronger, no matter what that means for us. So if you know that you're meant for more, you're ready to get stronger from the inside out, and you're just like, yes, I need a plan and some structure, something to tell me what to do. I know I'm ready, but I need that coaching. I can't do it alone. We are here for you. You can go to lifelikeLondon.com/strong at home, pick up the plan, figure out when our next VIP all access registration is opening so you can get that support and guidance. And the third thing, I said there was two, but the third thing is you can do both. You can join us for those monthly meetups. You can be there for the 8-week program. You know, this coaching and this support is here for you. We want to get you real results that last so you never have to start over again. And so you guys are awesome. Enjoy this episode. Get connected. Self-love and sweat, friends. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast. Today, I want to talk with you about redefining fitness. And as you can probably tell from the title of this episode, I've created an acronym out of fitness. So we're going to go through all of the letters in fitness, F-I-T-N-E-S-S, and just talk a bit more about what we think about fitness, right? So I wanted to share this topic with you because this was the topic that I did most recently on Self-Love and Sweat Monthly. Maybe you're a part of that membership. I love you. Maybe you're not. You definitely want to get connected in our monthly membership. But these are the topics that we talk about on Self-Love and Sweat Monthly, just redefining what we think about, really thinking about what we think about, and really being open to change and evolution when it comes to fitness, health, wellness, mindset, and all of those things. It's really oftentimes a process of unlearning and redefining what we once thought to be true. And so I wanted to share this with you on the podcast just to kind of give you a little taste on what we talk about in our monthly membership, but also because, I think it's an awesome topic to talk about. And all of these that we're going to go through in the acronym fitness have really, really transformed my life physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and continue to change the lives of my clients all over the world. So I'm super excited to share this with you today. So if you are able to take some notes and write some notes down, I think this is a really great episode to do that. I think all of the episodes are great to do that because it's always nice to just write down aha moments, take down notes and things like that. But I also understand that a lot of you might be listening while you're on a walk or doing your workout or whatever, but I encourage you to, if you can, pull out a note on your phone or pull out your notebook and take some notes on this because I'm going to ask you some questions. And it'll be nice for you to kind of either think about the questions or to be able to write down the answer, write down some bullet points about the answer and what it means to you. So first of all, what I want you to do first is think about what you think about when you hear the word fitness. What comes up? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Maybe you smell something, maybe you taste something. What comes up for you when you think about the word fitness? Depending on where we were in our life when we first were introduced to fitness, depending on if fitness was or was not a part of our childhood, and a lot of different things, it's like, when we say the word dog or when I say the word dog, you might think of, like, I personally think of a yellow lab because that's the dog that I had growing up. And maybe you think of a Chihuahua or maybe you think of a husky, but when we hear this word fitness, it has a different definition for all of us, right? Or it can have a slightly different definition depending on our model of the world and kind of how we perceive fitness. So first of all, I just want you to think about what you think about when you hear the word fitness. And in this episode, I want you to also be open to, and maybe you can say this to yourself as well, I'm open to redefining my personal definition of fitness. I'm open to expanding my definition about fitness. And I think that if you can just be open to changing what you might think about fitness, or be open to saying like, hey, I used to think about it this way and now I'm thinking about it this way. I would say that's a win. That's a win for you. And that's a win in terms of, in terms of me putting this podcast out there. I feel like if I can challenge you guys to think about what you're thinking about, think differently, be open to change in terms of what you're thinking about, then I've done my job. If I've stirred the pot a little bit for you, I'm doing my job here. Okay, so let's jump right into this acronym FITNESS and go through each of these letters. And let's jump right in. So let's start with F. Okay, the first letter in fitness, F. And that stands for feeling over looks. I can't tell you, including in my journey too, when I first started, it was really all about working out to look a certain way. And there's so many people that come to me from all over the world saying, I want to get rid of this, my muffin top, or there's a little bit extra hanging here, or I'd love to have a bit more defined abs, and I'd love to have slimmer thighs or more toned shoulders. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's so cool to be able to be like, hey, I want to train and I want to change my physical body. But when we're trying to fix the inside by working on the outside, that's where the real problem lies, and where a lot of the coaching that I do, both one-on-one and in groups, that's really what we hone in on. And it's so much more, it's much more possible to stay consistent when it comes to working out and fitness and physical fitness and things like that, when we really focus on the feeling over what we look like, right? Focusing on how great working out makes us feel. Focusing on how when we have that lean muscle tissue and a strong core, how great that makes us feel. Focusing on when we do an amazing workout and we just like push our limits and we just feel so accomplished. Also, when it comes to our sleep, so much better when we're able to be more fit and healthy and get better quality sleep and wake up feeling rested and rejuvenated. So that's the letter F, is just, dissociating a bit about, or like dissociating from what we look like and just working out because, I don't know, we ate something that we weren't supposed to, or working out to, change our body because we don't like the way that it looks. And instead shifting more towards how great it feels when we're fit. Because the thing is we're all aging, right? I mean, I'm 33 right now, and I don't know how old you guys are listening to this, but we're all getting older, right? Gravity's got a hold on us all. And eventually we're going to be wrinkly and have saggier skin and perhaps not look, in fact, for a fact, not look the same in our 50s as we did in our 20s. And I find that when we're super, super attached to the way that we look when it comes to our fitness, it can lead to a lot of, body dysmorphia, or just focusing, quite frankly, on the wrong things. Okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look a certain way. And I work with a lot of clients who, are fit and healthy and strong. And they're like, hey, I want to tone up a little bit more here. But the underlying reason, or, the roots that are rooting down, is really based on that feeling and how great it feels when you're healthy and fit. Okay. So that's the F, feeling over looks. I, the next letter in fitness, I. This stands for I versus me. And maybe you've heard it before. I did a recent post on Instagram Reels about me versus me, I versus me, I versus I, however you want to look at it. But basically, this just means focusing on you and being better than you were yesterday. And focusing on your personal records and your strength gains and your progress. Sometimes when it comes to health and fitness, maybe you're at the gym, or maybe you're even in the fitness industry, or I don't know, maybe you're in a, like you're part of a group that does workouts together or whatever. And it can be really easy to get caught up in that comparison trap and to look at others and be like, okay, well, what the heck? Like, we're eating, similar things. We're doing some of the same workouts. How come they can look a certain way? Or how come, my legs are super big, but theirs are super slim? Or how come whenever I start working out, like, I don't know, they're faster than me when it comes to running, or
whatever. And maybe you've heard this quote or phrase before, that comparison is the thief of joy. But it really is. I think I've said this before a ton in my group coaching programs, and even here on the podcast, is like, it's cool to look side to side and be like, okay, cool. I'm going to get motivated by others who are also showing up. I'm going to get motivated by others who are also being consistent and doing the workouts and, just all the things. It's great to be inspired and motivated by others, but it's quite another thing to compare yourself, especially because we're so unique, right? We're so unique in our everything, right? But also, like, maybe this person has been working out for 6 months. Maybe they've been working out for 6 years, right? It's not doing a service. It's doing a disservice when we compare our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 32. Or our chapter 32 to somebody else's chapter 4 or whatever, right? So keeping that mindset that I just want to be better than I was yesterday. I just want to do a little bit better in my workout than I did yesterday. I just want to make progress for me. Okay. That's so important when it comes to having that healthy mindset surrounding fitness. Okay. That's the I versus me. T. Next letter, T. And this one, gosh, I feel like all of these are super important, or else they wouldn't have made it into this episode. But this one has absolutely changed my life and has continued to change the lives of my clients and my friends. And this T stands for talk to self. And the way we talk to ourselves is so important. I've been in the fitness industry now for over 13 years, and I have seen some of the fittest, strongest, air quotes, sexiest physiques, right? These people who just, have amazing abs and just, the best butt, whatever, like that look like they would just have it all together, right? Like, oh my gosh, they look great. They look great in everything that they wear. When they're wearing a bikini, they're just rocking it, not an ounce of cellulite on them, whatever. That talk to themselves like crap, that look in the mirror and don't like what they see, and say things like, if I was just a little bit leaner, then I could be happy, or, my butt's just not toned enough, or I'm not good enough. And, a really good friend of mine, Nina Silic, she's been on the podcast a few times as well. She recently did a post about the first time that her and I met. Okay. Her post wasn't about that, but we were at an event together, the first time we ever met. And I remember after this event, it was a fitness event in Australia. And we went to this after party. And I remember seeing her in this after party wearing this like amazing, like kind of pinkish red dress, looking so good. And I remember looking at her and being like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful and like so lean and sexy and just looks so great. And she is very, very open about the fact that that's not how she was talking to herself during that time. She shared in that post that before that party, she was like in tears because she thought she was too fat to wear that outfit, that she was too bloated to be in such a skin tight dress, and the way that she was talking to herself, it was pretty surprising. I mean, I guess not surprising now, knowing what I know and, being in the industry for so long, it's not, it breaks my heart, but it's not as surprising to me anymore to know that a lot of people throughout those years that were looking a certain way, fitness competitors, pro card, super lean, just looking great, that their self-talk was not healthy and was not positive and was not uplifting and was not empowering. I also wrote an article for Oxygen magazine called The New Clean Eating. And that is, or it was like I forget what I said. I don't even remember the title. I'll link it in the show notes, but it was, The New Clean Eating was cleaning up your self-talk. And just being aware of what we say to ourselves on a regular basis. I remember when I first left Runtastic to start my own business and move back to America. And there was just a lot of beating myself up because I was, in Europe on all these different stages, thousands of people doing these workout events, cameras in my face all the time. And there was a lot of degrading self-talk that happened when I moved back, and a lot of degrading self-talk that I've worked through. just I wasn't, as good, or because, maybe there was 20 women in my program versus thousands when I was at Runtastic. I mean, it had nothing to do with what I looked like physically, but maybe you can relate as well, like in business or just whatever. We might be finding ourselves just being our worst critic, right? I feel like, if we, let me ask this. Sometimes the way that we talk to ourselves, it's like, would you talk to someone you love that way? Would you talk to your best friend that way? And I often, what's been super empowering in my life when it comes to the way that I talk to myself, is my niece, my beautiful niece, Reagan. I often, I'm like, okay, Lunden, would you say that to Reagan, or would you want Reagan to hear you say that about yourself? And if the answer is not yes, then I'm going to do my best to switch those thoughts and to switch out the way that we talk to ourselves. Now, how do you do that? One word at a time. One word at a time. So maybe you heard me talk about this before, but one of the first words I started with was busy. I was always describing my schedule as I'm so busy. There's so much going on. And then other people, because of the way that I was talking, about my life, they would be like, oh, Lunden, I know you're super busy, but do you think you can help me with this? Or I wanted to ask you, but I know you're super busy. And so I just started switching the word busy to full and abundant. I have a full and abundant schedule. My day was so full and abundant. And another word that we often say, I'm sure that this resonates with you, is stressed. I'm so stressed. And I was in an appointment with, I was at an appointment, and the practitioner I was working with, she said, oh, what's a better word than stressed? And I was like, what? And she's like, challenged. How does it feel when you're going to a challenging situation versus a stressful situation? And for me, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes me like kind of, want to sit up taller, and my shoulders kind of come down and away from my ears. And instead of being closed off and a little bit more, stressed and maybe looking down, I'm like, oh, I'm ready for the challenge, right? And maybe that word does it for you. So when it comes to the way we talk to ourselves, it just starts one word at a time, literally just one word at a time. And then asking yourself, okay, would I talk to someone I love this way? Would I talk to my child this way? Would I talk to, like for me, it's my niece. Would I talk to my niece this way? And just really, really thinking about cleaning up your self-talk. That's number two. Number two, that's letter T, the third one, talk to self. And the next letter. Okay, so we have F, feeling overlooks, I versus me, T, talk to self, and N. N is for nutrition. Yeah. Nutrition is super important. The way that we eat and fuel our bodies has a major impact on not only what we look like, but how we feel, right? I think that, we can all imagine a moment where we've eaten something super nutritious that makes us feel really good, where we don't feel bloated, we feel energized afterwards. It just feels perfect. We're not too full. We're not stuffed, but we just feel great. And we can also think of a moment where we probably chowed down on something that's not super healthy, and we feel really tired afterwards and fatigued and maybe bloated. And then afterwards, we're either like constipated or maybe have diarrhea or whatever, where it's just like our body, it does not agree with our body. And when it comes to this letter N, nutrition, I'm not here to tell you what to eat. In fact, in all of my programs and with my coaching clients, I don't give customized meal plans, because the thing is it's all about finding what works for you. And how do you find what works for you? Well, you try things out and you figure it out over time. And what a lot of people want is, and I've had family members, family members and friends and things ask me too, like, will you give me a customized meal plan? Will you make my food for me and I'll just come and pick it up from you? And it's like, that can be helpful. But the thing is it's not helping you figure out what works for you. And there are a lot of diets, right? We've heard of Whole30, keto, paleo, vegetarian, vegan, all these carnivore, like all these different diets. And the truth is they're all cool. I'm cool with all of them as long as you feel good and you're getting results, right? If we're on a diet and we're like, our mood is all over the place, we have no energy, we're craving everything in sight, that's probably not the diet for you, right? And it needs to be something that you can do forever. If you can't do it forever, don't even start. Don't even start. And when it comes to nutrition as well, I find it's, people want to put themselves in a box. It's like, I am vegan. I am paleo. And there's so much identity surrounding the way we consume food and our identity around nutrition. And I'm not bashing anyone, who does that. I just feel like that leaves no wiggle room to wiggle, right? So like, I don't really eat meat. In fact, I haven't eaten chicken or turkey or birds in years, probably like a decade, over 10 years. I don't eat meat on a regular basis, but sometimes, like a couple days ago, some bacon sounds good. And I had a couple pieces of bacon with breakfast. And sometimes some fish sounds good. And when I'm near the water and I'm, somewhere where I can get some fresh fish, sometimes that sounds good, and I don't share that a lot. I mean, I'm sharing it with you now, but I'm not, ever saying like, oh, we don't need to eat meat, or we shouldn't be eating this, or we shouldn't be eating that, and you should be eating like me. Like, no. But, over the years of, being vegan and, being vegetarian and then kind of experimenting, I just really realized, eating predominantly vegan feels really good for me. But there's different phases in my cycle, especially where I'm like, a little bit of like bacon sounds good, or a bite of like, and this is just what sounds good to me, a bite of like a crispy, like almost like beef jerky textured meat, or like the burnt part of ribs. Like sometimes a couple bites of that sounds good, or sometimes I had some halibut the other day. It was delicious, right? And I know that works for me because I feel good. I feel energized. I don't feel like I'm craving everything. I feel satisfied. And then of course I work regularly to check my labs, my blood work and just other different labs to make sure that I am getting the nutrients that my body needs, right? So it's not a quick fix. It's not an overnight thing. It's not I tried this for a week and I didn't get results, so that doesn't work. Or I tried this for a week and it does work, so that means I need to do this forever, right? So figure out what works for you and take the time. It might take a few weeks. It might take some months, but it's like, this is your body. This is your life. This is you. And if you don't take the time to do it, nobody else is going to figure it out for you. And of course, seeking out coaching and expertise, from someone like myself or a nutritionist or a doctor, or whatever, it's super helpful. It's super helpful to have that guidance. Absolutely. But ultimately, you have to figure out what works for you. And if you find yourself in that loop of wanting somebody else to figure it out for you, that's a loop you're going to want to get out of ASAP. ASAP. Okay. Next, E stands for empowered ownership. And this one is so important, so powerful. And the reason why I say empowered ownership is because I want this ownership to be empowering for you. Okay. If you find yourself always starting over, always in this all or nothing mindset, losing the weight, then gaining it back, setting up good habits and routines, but then getting back to the crazy busy lifestyle, I often will say, who's the common denominator? And we have to raise our hands because we are always the common denominator in that situation. When we point the finger at other people, oh, it's because this person made me grumpy. Oh, if it wasn't for all the cake that's always at the office, then I would be eating healthy. Well, you know what? You're the common denominator. Now, this doesn't mean it's all your fault or that you're bad or something's horrible or you did something wrong. It's just that I want you to be empowered to take that power back, to point the finger back at yourself and say, hey, you know what? It's me. I'm the common denominator. If something is not working, I'm involved in all of that. And I need to figure out and find a way to make it work for me. Ownership is so important and it can be really challenging. I work with a lot of clients one-on-one in my life coaching and NLP coaching, and ownership is huge. We have to be able to take all those fingers that we're pointing at everything outside of us and point them back, because quite frankly, that's the only way to change it, because we're in control. We can't control what somebody does. We can't control what others are doing. We can't control what's happening in the world, right? But we can control how we show up. We can control if we're taking ownership or not. And quite frankly, if you're waiting for something outside of yourself to change in order for you to be happy, for you to be healthy, it's a game you can't win. It's a game you can't win. And I find that taking ownership sets you up for success, and taking ownership sets you up to play a game that you can win. Okay. That's E, empowered ownership. Okay. Getting into the S's. The first S stands for self-love. Self-love. And I'm sure you can guess what the second S is based on the title of this podcast. But the first S is self-love. And this can look different for you. It could look different, to you than it does to me, than it does to your neighbor, than it does to your coworker, than it does to your friend. But what I often ask is, what am I doing when I'm feeling most in love with myself? And for a lot of people, that looks different. It could be a warm bath. It could be going on a trip, right? One of the women in my Strong at Home for Women program that we had our most recent fireside chat in this program. Every other Monday in this program, we hop on Zoom and we all kind of get together and celebrate our wins and progress and just kind of do the work together. And she was so excited. She was like, oh my gosh, Lunden, my theme for this round of Strong at Home for Women, my personal theme for myself was self-love. And so I decided to take time away from work and go on a trip with my daughter. And it was amazing. And then she also said, and oh my gosh, I took a bath for the first time, like maybe not the first time in her entire life. Cause she was like, yeah, I probably took a bath as a baby, but like for the first time as an adult, I made a bath for myself. I put some essential oils in it. I put some Epsom salt in it. I lit some candles. I put some good music on that just made me feel so relaxed and so in love with myself. And it just felt so amazing. And maybe that's for you too. Maybe self-love for you is looking in the mirror and, letting yourself know, hey, I love you. You are amazing. You are enough. For me, when I feel most in love with myself is when I'm learning, right? Like when I'm learning something, I just feel like a big hug from me to me. And so when you can identify those moments of what makes you feel most in love with yourself, do more of that. Do more of that, right? So if I know that what's that noise? Anyways, that was a fire alarm in the hotel that I'm staying at. Hello. All right, let's see if it's finished. Yeah, I think that it is. Okay, so if I know that I feel most in love with myself when I'm learning, then I'm looking for more opportunities to learn. Okay. That doesn't mean that I'm, watching more YouTube videos or reading more books, but even in certain situations where I feel like, oh my gosh, that did not go as planned, or that didn't go the way that I thought it would. What can I learn from this situation? What can I learn from this situation? And really, using my self-talk, switching my mindset and being able to say, okay, I know that makes me feel good when I'm learning something, and being able to say, okay, instead of being like, okay, that happened. Oh my gosh, that's so horrible. I can ask myself, what did I learn from that situation? Okay. And that's a form of self-love for me. All right. The last S. The last S is sweat. Sweat. We can't discount movement, right? When it comes to fitness, it's important. Moving our body is so important. Working our muscles, strength training, resistance training, walking, yoga, swimming, dancing, biking. It's so awesome. So awesome. And so great for our bodies. I do a daily devotional in my Bible app with my aunts every morning. And we recently were doing a devotional on kind of physical health and wellness and well-being. And one of the things that was said in that devotional was move towards joy. Move your body in a way that makes you feel joy. And so, yes, I am a big fan of strength training, resistance training, and cardiovascular training and mobility and flexibility, because it's great for your body. There's also a lot of research that those types of training are awesome for feelings of anxiety and depression and things like that. And as someone who has dealt with anxiety and feelings of anxiousness, I know that those, where I'm getting sweaty and just kind of moving like that, that makes me feel really, really good. But walking is really awesome too. Like walking is so awesome for weight loss and stress reduction. It's like amazing. Like just going for a nice walk, being out in nature is so incredible. And so move towards joy, sweat in a way that works for you. I don't really care. There was a time in my coaching where I would have said, you need to do these exercises in 3 sets of 15 and you need to rest for this amount of time. And yes, there are ways of training. Like if you're in a strength training plan and you're trying to gain and build muscle, well, there's ways you're going to need to train in order to get those results. If you're running for a race or training for a race, like a running race or a triathlon or whatever, there's certain trainings that you're going to have to do to get that desired outcome, right? But for the most part, I just want people to move. I just want people to move in their bodies, get in a good sweat, whether that's dance, whether that's yoga, whether that's walking, whether that's HIIT, kickboxing, strength training, CrossFit. I just want you to move. I just want you to move in your body and to understand that our physical body is the way that we are able to execute our purpose and bring our unique gifts to the world. And if we don't take care of our physical body and work out and move, we're really limiting that. We're really, really limiting that. So that is how I want to redefine fitness. Let's go through all of those one more time before we wrap up here. F, feeling over looks. I versus me. T, talk to self. N, nutrition. E, empowered ownership. S, self-love. And S, sweat. Thank you guys so much for being here on Self Love and Sweat, the podcast. I truly love you. Let me know what you think about these episodes. So you can go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at LifeLikeLondon. Or if you're on my email list, you can go ahead and reply to any of the emails that I send to you. All the replies, even if it's automatic, like even if you got one of my freebies and you were automatically sent an email with that, you can always hit reply. I get all of those emails and I try to respond to all of them as soon as possible. So you can hit reply to any of those emails. Let me know what you think about this episode. And also let me know what you want to hear next on these, on the podcast. And then if you're not on my email list, you should be. I think you should be. You can go and pick up my free mindset and workout calendar. Just go to lifelikelondon.com/calendar. You'll find all these links in the show notes too. But every month I'll send you a free mindset and workout calendar that you can follow along with, whether it's a workout or a podcast episode to listen to, or just a reminder, to give thanks, or a little journal entry or a mindset activity. You'll find all of that, all the links to that in the show notes. But it would be really awesome if you could get on my email list so then you don't miss a beat, you don't miss any of the updates. I appreciate you. And together we can really redefine fitness. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Self Love and Sweat, the podcast. Hey, do me a favor. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, give us a review. This really helps a lot. And share this with a friend. I'm only one person, and with your help, we can really spread the message of self-love and sweat and change more lives all around the world. I'm Lunden Souza, reminding you that you deserve a life full of passion, presence, and purpose, fueled by self-love and sweat. This podcast is a Hit Spot Austria production.